Bonjour, my name is Belle. I'm here with my lovely friends you know as Lumiere and Cogsworth. They are also here with me in the castle. We are locked away because of COVID, but I am here to read you my favorite story, Beauty and the Beast. But you know what? I think my lovely friend Gaston would like this because it has pictures. So let me start by reading it to you. So, once upon a time, there lived a young prince in a beautiful castle. Although he had everything his heart's desire, the prince was spoiled and selfish. One winter's night, an old beggar's woman asked the prince for shelter from the cold. In return, she offered him a red rose. Repulsed by the old woman, the unkind prince turned her away. The woman warned him, though, not to be deceived by appearances, since beauty is found within. When the prince dismissed her again, the woman's ugliness melted away to reveal beautiful enchantress. The prince tried to apologize, but it was too late. The enchantress knew there was no love in his heart. As punishment, the enchantress turned the prince into a hideous beast. Then she placed a spell on the castle and all that lived there. The rose she had offered him was an enchanted rose. It would bloom until the prince was 21. If he could learn to love and be loved in return before the last petal fell, then the spell would be broken. If not, he would remain a beast forever. Ashamed of his monstrous form, the beast hid in his castle. The only way, though, out into the outside world, he had a magic mirror. As the years passed, he fell into deep despair. Slowly, the rose began to wither. He did not believe anyone could ever learn to love a beast. In the nearby village, a beautiful young woman named Belle. Hello. Unlike other girls in the village, I only cared for books. She was always out of place. I learned to love and read about adventures and romance. My father, Maurice, loved books too. Maurice was an inventor, a genius, according to myself. Belle is even stranger than her father, the villagers whispered. Her nose is always stuck in a book, and her head in the clouds. Gaston, the handsomest man in the world, wanted to make Belle his wife, even though she thought he was brainless and turned him down again and again and again. Gaston was to wed the lovely Belle. He was determined. But I was going to keep telling him no. One cold day, Maurice hitched his horse Philippe to a wagon and set him off to the show his latest invention at the faraway fair. But Maurice read the map wrong and became lost in the forest. An icy wind whistled through the trees as he suddenly heard the howling of wolves. Philippe bolted and Maurice fell to the ground. Trying to escape the wolves, the frightened man ran deeper and deeper, lost in the woods. He came across the castle and stumbled inside. There he was greeted by Mrs. Potts, Cogsworth, and Lumiere, who all had been servants to the prince. But before he could have time to marvel over these strange creatures, an even stranger one appeared, the beast. When Maurice stared in horror, the beast howled angrily. He scooped up Maurice and carried him off into a dungeon. Meanwhile, Philippe had made his way back home and as Belle took one look at the riderless horse and knew something awful had happened to her father. Philippe, take me to him, I cried, leaping onto the horse's saddle. Without pause, Philippe thundered off towards the woods. When they reached the castle, I bursted inside, searched frantically for my father. The enchanted objects led myself to the dungeon. But just as I found my father, the beast appeared. I let out a terrifying gasp. The sight of the creature, I begged and begged the beast to free my father. When he refused, I bravely offered to take my father's place. No, Belle, Maurice cried. but the beast agreed for the exchange. Before Belle could even bid her father goodbye, the beast led her to my room. "The castle is now your home," he said gruffly. I was free to go anywhere I liked, except the West Wing. "You will join me for dinner," the beast ordered. "That's not a request." Still, the beast refused, and the beast stomped off in anger. That night, Belle slipped out of her room and found her way to the forbidden West Wing. There, I saw the enchanted red rose by the window. When I reached out to touch it, the beast suddenly appeared on the balcony outside the room. I screamed and fled the room. My heart was pounding. I ran out of the castle. I mounted Philippe and galloped off into the night. But a pack of wolves soon surrounded us. I was so helpless. Suddenly the beast appeared, throwing the wolves aside. Belle heard terrible snarling and howling from the beast as the wolves battled for their lives. At last the wolves ran off into the woods, but the beast lay in the snow, badly injured. Back at the castle, I carefully tended to the beast's wounds. Gentle as I was, the beast roared angrily. "I barely touched you," I said. Then she saw the look of pain in his